You knock out the door, and with my pigeons, you know it's it has to roll. And the fine and cut story, to my state to see. Just like the phonetic guitar, cause mine runs deep.
It seems that humanity has lost faith in its ability to succeed through self-improvement. In our quest for success and wealth, we have shifted our focus from developing our natural intelligence and personal potential to creating something else that will succeed on our behalf. This is unlikely to work as we expect. You know what rudimentation is, right? The appendix, wisdom teeth, and human tailbone are examples of rudimentation. These human organs have become unnecessary in the process of either evolution or devolution, a topic up for debate. That is why they have atrophied. Imagine rudimentation as a social process. When a society becomes complacent and self-sufficient, and its people stop developing their social intelligence, the society enters a period of decline in its internal and external influence. The next step is entering a period of permanent decline. Sustained decline triggers a process of cultural rudimentation. This causes a society or even a civilization to shrink to the point of insignificance and eventually cease to exist. The history is full of extinct human societies and civilizations. In our interconnected world, the process of social and cultural rudimentation, the halting of a society's development, cannot be contained. Processes of decline in given human field of activity or even its disappearance are developing immeasurably faster today than just 5 or 6 decades ago. So, natural intelligence and inborn stupidity. The difference between natural intelligence and inborn stupidity should be obvious. Sometimes, however, the distinction is as clear as a faded center line on a road in a developing country where the only people who know whether passing is permitted are the occupants of a hidden police car on the side of the road. In theory, each of us possesses natural intelligence. In practice, though, inborn stupidity often prevails in everyday life. Inborn stupidity and its everyday manifestations are precisely the strongest arguments in favor of artificial intelligence. Some people are so convinced that humans are incapable of developing at a pace that meets the demands and standards of the current technological economy and perplexing world, that for this reason $1.5 trillion were spent on AI projects in 2025 alone, with the aim of replacing human knowledge with non-human expertise. Proponents of AI argue that it will not replace humans. They are right to a certain extent. In the beginning of 2026, Amazon cut almost 6,000 jobs. So, AI will not actually harm everyone, not all human beings. It hits mostly the college and university-educated white-collar workers. I understand that employers and supervisors are apparently tired to their bones by answers to work-related questions containing phrases such as "I don't know," "I'm waiting," "I haven't seen it," "I forgot," and the simplest and most categorical which is so widely used. Therefore, perhaps for their own good and to save our very own civilization from collapse, we must replace ourselves with artificial intelligence. You know who is leading the contest to advance the AI as much as possible? The adult industry. They have been the pioneers of advancing the internet bandwidth length because they needed fast routes to deliver all these porn videos to the users. Now, they are probably working on creating AI-powered sex dolls that learn from their interactions with the humans. So, the AI technologists and the porn industry folks specifically aim at taking the God's job, more specifically to take his creative functions in terms of creating beings. I hope that the adult industry would not end up creating a sex doll that moves like a Russian robot from 2025, the one that was put on the stage, made few steps and went down on the floor. The AI probably, at least in theory, might bring salvation to humanity from its inborn stupidity. However, we need to think carefully and do this now to consider all the possible outcomes. We need to be very, very careful in the AI adoption because there would be no ifs, ands and ors in the AI adoption. Once introduced in every possible sphere of human activity, even into our adult life, it's over. That's it. There will be no more natural intelligence, there will be only artificial intelligence. No one would bother suspending the development of any production cycle or a complex physical or virtual industrial ecosystem just because we have forgotten to take something into account. On the contrary, our inability to think proactively and plan well will be one of the strongest arguments for the human beings to be put into the periphery of their own economy and their own worlds. There won't be any possibilities of adding to or correcting the creation. There would be no, we forgot something. Once installed, AI will start removing humans from their spheres of activity. The AI platforms we are currently investing in will increasingly relegate us to the role of passive observers in our own worlds. Thus, we will begin to lose the ability to develop our natural intelligence and be left with our inborn stupidity. Have you noticed that inborn stupidity is a state of ignorance that is neither static nor final? Ignorance is inborn stupidity, which is the starting point for developing ordinary stupidity. An ignorant person is a producer and distributor of ordinary habitual stupidity. Every human stupidity is a complex social variable with many components. It includes a lack of knowledge about the world, the conviction that what was already being learned by previous generations is completely sufficient, our personal arrogance, misguided self-esteem, the inability of humans to distinguish fact from fiction, and many, many other things. A large-scale manifestation of stupidity, for example, is the inability to distinguish between the past and history. When we think back, we believe that we are thinking historically. In fact, all we are doing is citing the past as an argument when making our decisions today. I think it is important to remember from time to time that when they created what we now call history, the people before us made similar or the very same mistakes, namely confusing the past, their own past, with history. In other words, they often reproduced their inborn stupidity instead of their natural intelligence. The transformation of inborn stupidity into everyday habitual stupidity is the most dangerous manifestation of human nature. It quickly leads to cultural, economic, and all other forms of decline. Technology, communications, and the shortened distance between human societies create conditions for the development of inborn stupidity that were unknown in the past. The more it unfolds, the more natural human intelligence diminishes, until it finally shrinks and resembles a small, wrinkled, set raisin. It is logical that the development of artificial intelligence is based on models of behavior resulting from human intelligence, natural human intelligence. However, AI learns from everything human, including the daily manifestations of our inborn stupidity. These often exceed the manifestations of natural intelligence in terms of quantity and quality. Therefore, there is a significant risk in our quest to create artificial intelligence that we will produce artificial stupidity. There is no necessity in history. That is probably why the human body has preserved the tailbone as a vestigial organ. One day, if the inborn stupidity finally defeats the natural intelligence, humans will be able to develop a tail relatively quickly. It will be very useful if we need to climb back up the trees. Maybe this is a natural process. No matter when people live and where they go, sooner or later, everyone returns home.